just have some last-minute changes to warrant articles. So Mr. Vitolo has submitted an amendment to the resolution in Article 23.
Indeed.
So why don't you come up to the microphone so the vast TV audience can
Are we on TV?
hear. We are.
Exciting.
That's the bylaw.
Tommy Vitolo, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. For your information, the moderator has determined that my motion will be the main motion, as it is the one the petitioner supports, and the advisory committee will be the amendment to the motion. Nevertheless, it's new and exciting and due for some advice from the Selectmen. The original resolution that this body reviewed had 2 result clauses, but really it had 3 items. It said, number 1, we're going to support state legislation that will allow for local option taxes and applying that revenue toward transportation. Number 2, Brookline will implement a 3-cent gas tax to generate revenue. And then number 3, we will spend that revenue on additional pedestrian, bike, and mass transit infrastructure. At the advisory committee subcommittee hearing, the good folks on that subcommittee pointed out that maybe a 3-cent gas tax isn't the right revenue source. Maybe it should be something different. Maybe it should be higher or lower or a different tax altogether. And I found that really compelling. So did the advisory committee and the petitioner. The advisory committee subcommittee, submitted an amendment to open up the options to be broader than just a 3-cent gas tax. The moderator ruled it beyond the scope. And therefore, they were dead-ended, and ultimately the advisory committee put together what you've seen and have voted to support. Since that time, I spoke with the moderator and found language that the moderator was willing to would rule within scope that removes the taxation entirely. So I couldn't expand the taxation, but I could remove the 3-cent. And so now it says, 1, we support the state legislation just as before, and 2, any revenue we get from this bill, without talking about how we're going to get it, any revenue we get from this bill, we are going to apply toward incremental pedestrian, bike, and transit infrastructure. And so we took out the 3-cent gas tax. It's not about a 3-cent gas tax, but it is still about both supporting the state bill and applying revenue toward our infrastructure needs that apply to pedestrian infrastructure, bike infrastructure, and mass transit infrastructure within the town. Of course, it's a resolution, it's non-binding, it's a reflection of this town meeting's opinion and can't bind future town meetings, and all of those other disclaimers apply. The bottom line is that my language allows town meeting to say that we're not spending enough on ped, bike, and transit infrastructure, and gee, if we had another revenue source, we'd be particularly happy to spend more on those items because they are important. And the original language, and therefore I believe my language has been supported by PAX, BCAN, Green Caucus, and the petitioner. It lost at advisory yesterday 8-12 with 4 abstentions, which frankly I felt was pretty good.
What was their objection?
I think in general the advisory committee objects to constrained spending. They don't want the constraint of having to spend money in a particular way. They want to sort of eliminate that constraint. So similarly, the advisory committee has expressed opposition to the unofficial, although in practice, money dedicated to street trees and sidewalk repairs that grow by inflation every year. And we sort of set that up with resolutions years ago. My recollection is the advisory committee opposed those as well. Because it's constrained spending, because in general the advisory committee wants as much flexibility as possible within the budget.
I don't have a problem with constrained spending. In general, and supported, for example, in the 2008 override, there's constrained spending.
Mm-hmm.
The policy is
right.
to dedicate a piece of it and grow it for roads. And then grow it by 2.5%. So I don't have a problem in theory, and I was on advisory. Well, what,
Well, let me just weigh in here. I thought that the act relevant to regional transportation ballot initiatives called for monies to be spent on transportation upgrades.
That's right, and this resolution would be consistent with that, but would give more direction than the minimal direction that the state law would give.
I guess one thing that attracted me to the original resolution is that it worried about mass transit, and that's, I think, an area that we don't really spend money on in this town, and we need to.
Well, this resolution calls for that.
I know, but we also have a fierce bicycle lobby, and it seems like we're getting more of a fierce pedestrian lobby, and I worry that the money for mass transit upgrades will be diluted. That's my only concern. I mean, there's never enough money to go around. Let's put it that way.
but the town doesn't do mass transit.
Well, that's not quite right. I'll give some examples of the mass transit that we do. We voted to spend $50,000 for a transit signal prioritization project for the C Line. That's an example of local transportation infrastructure spending that benefits Brookline residents for mass transit. Other spending could include benches and awnings over bus stops on Harvard Street and elsewhere. That would be mass transit spending that wouldn't come with the advertisement that the T would force down our throats if we paid for it ourselves. That would be clear benefits to mass transit users. Those are the kinds of things. We're certainly not going to put our own subway line in or have a Coolidge Corner bypass. That's not the kind of money we're talking about. But there are opportunities for improvements in mass transit through this bill.
Yeah, related to that, I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with the requirement that all the money, any and all general Brookline revenue, go to those three areas. I mean, there may be areas where, town feels should receive some of the money, a significant amount. I mean, for example, making the lights along Beacon Street coordinated, or whatever it's called, for cars. Similar to why you do it for a train or on other streets. So I think that saying that it's just for those three areas is a little.
Well, I think it comes from the realization that for the better part of 100 years, this town, like all others, has prioritized spending on infrastructure for automobiles to the detriment of. And for example, right in front of this high school, there's a crosswalk, right? And on one side of the crosswalk, there's no ramp. If you're in a wheelchair, you actually cannot get back on the curb, and that's in front of the high school. And that's been there for at least a decade. And why? We'd like to fix it, but we never seem to find the money for that. We do find the money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, when we decide we want to install a new traffic light. And over the past few years, we have actually included multi-$100,000 traffic light projects. So we can seem to find that money. I think the petitioner observed, and I agree, that these smaller projects that impact pedestrians, cyclists, and transit users often get the short end of the stick when there's not enough to go around. And that this is a way to recognize that problem and not just say, let's spend more money on it, but hey, here is the money you need to spend on it. I went and found the money as well as the problem, right? So now to say, well, we might want to spend the money on other things, not only says we're going to continue to not prioritize these other items, but also we don't even care that you found the money for it. I think this was a great article precisely because it found the very money that we never seem to be able to find to do these things.
The act is not even passed. So.
Well, right. I mean, and obviously if it doesn't pass, then the rest of this is moot.
But I guess it's also the case that it's just a resolution and the board can decide to spend
Well,
some
this is
money
the
on
board.
it.
This would attempt to influence, not bind,
That's right.
influence a future town meeting, because that's where the
I see this as directional. This points out that this is a place where we could serve to spend more money in a way that benefits the town, and should this bill pass in the same or nearly the same form as it's written in now, and should the selectmen at that time decide they want to proceed with a local options tax, and should the voters then vote to approve that tax, right? There's a number of hurdles here. this town meeting thinks that that money ought to go toward ped, bike, and transit infrastructure because we have so many clear needs. And now that this board, the Board of Selectmen, has approved the complete streets policy, we have even more codified needs. Here's where the money can come from for at least some of it.
I have one clarification question. So aside from gas tax, what were the three other options?
My understanding of the bill, and it's, of course, it's in flux, who knows what's going to finally pass, that excise tax on automobiles is fair game, and actual general property tax is fair game, which I found surprising, and I don't know that we would pursue that, but that it is another option. And by the time the bill passes, there may be other options, or some options may go away, which is why I thought it was, another reason why I thought it was reasonable to remove the 3-cent gas tax option, because we don't know what all the options are or which one will be best for Brookline.
Well, in the same way we don't know what the tax options are gonna be, we also don't know what the legislature in the end is gonna say we can use the money for. So my inclination is, we fight that fight once we have the if and when we have the tax money, and we see what we can spend it on, and at that point we may.
My concern with that is that when the 6th floor gets the ball rolling, it becomes very difficult for the town meeting to respond to it and change direction. All the momentum is already gone. And that this is an opportunity for town meeting to sort of let the town know ahead of time, hey, this is our preference, so when you put it together, when the time is right, and you and town staff put it together, you've already heard our opinion on it.
Well, but you're missing one big step here, which is that there's going to have to be, if this act passes, and we want to implement some sort of a tax, we're going to have a referendum.
That's right.
Assume we're going to know about that before a town meeting, or, we can analyze what kinds of expenses and fight it out then. And to tell people that we will be spending this money on, I think it's, what if people decide that the most important thing that they want are, benches at the T-stops?
Well, that would be covered by this.
But my point is that I think we're better off doing it at the time. I agree. I mean, this could be 4 or 5 years down the pike. I might say it'd be better if Brookline had electric buses.
Electric buses are part of mass transportation and would again be covered by this.
I understand. But what I'm saying is that I think we don't need to prescribe this now. We can do it at the time.
So our position was to support the advisory committee motion. Is there a sense of anyone to reconsider?
I'll move reconsideration.
Okay. All those in favor of reconsideration, please say aye. Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
That's my name. No.
Selectman Green?
No.
Selectman Hamilton?
Aye.
And the chair votes no. So we're not reconsidering. So our position is the same. Who's speaking to this?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a amendment to the budget that's going to be taken up tomorrow night. It's a technical amendment, as I understand it, some language on item 53, which was $300,000 for water improvements. Didn't have language to permit bonding, so this corrects. This allows for bonding, and then a 2/3 vote will be required. There's no substantive difference to the amount of money or to what this money is going to pay for. It's just the funding source was omitted, right?
It was, it was referred to
properly throughout in different sections of the combined reports, but the motion under item 53 was done in error and did not include the borrowing aspect.
Okay. So, I will move reconsideration of item 53 of the budget, Article 9. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Selectman Hamilton?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I'll move the motion, which is stated here, offered by Neil Roshinsky, on the green sheet. All those in favor, please say aye. Selectman Franco?
Aye.
Selectman Heller?
Aye.
Selectman Green?
Aye.
Selectman Hamilton?
Aye.
Okay, and chair votes aye. So this will be the selectman's motion.
Yep.
Uh,
Advisory committee's voted it unanimously.
Okay, so I guess I'm speaking to it tomorrow.
I guess we're meeting tomorrow.
No, do we need to meet?
Well,
Oh,
No,
Well,
town meeting.
Town meeting.
I want to talk about meeting in just a moment, but town meeting, I can't see us finishing tonight, do you?
oh, no, we're not finishing tonight.
So the
We're
question
hope
is,
so.
it's either tomorrow night or a week from
1:30 a.m.
Tuesday.
It's the week after.
Yeah, like June 10th or something.
So we're not going 4 nights.
No. No, but
I hope
I'm
not.
saying if somebody doesn't want to adjourn till tomorrow night, they're going to have to wait several days
Yeah.
to adjourn.
So, Mr. Kleckner.
Yeah, so last evening, we discussed the merits of meeting next week. Our town meeting we were not scheduled to meet because of the Jewish holiday, and that same holiday, of course, exists if we met Tuesday night. So we went back and saw what was scheduled for Tuesday night. We did schedule a public hearing on the extension of a noise bylaw exemption down on Beacon Street, so we would have to cancel that. We also had some fire promotions that I think we could cancel. So it's really up to you whether you think it's important to do that. We can get by. I think if we do cancel next week, we will have to meet as a board tomorrow night. We have posted the meeting in expectation, because there are a few minor things, timely things that we have to approve before, if we don't meet next week.
So I don't think we should be meeting on the religious holiday.
Neither do I.
And there's really no point to meet on Thursday
All religious
because,
holidays?
Well-
Maybe opening up a,
Well, that was an unusual situation.
Well, also that, it's a work day, it's still a work day, it's just that the evenings are, in this case, the evenings are what is, where the religious activities occur, what?
yeah, no, I understand.
So it's slightly different,
I am,
I mean, I'm willing to
If
meet, I just.
if I had
don't
my
know
druthers,
that-
I wouldn't have met on Good Friday. But
Well.
if I had my druthers, but
So I did talk to Michael Burstein just to get, I usually run scheduling items by him just to get feedback on what's appropriate, what isn't. And so I said that there is a chance that we may need to meet because of the public hearing. And he said, well, as long as none of the items on the agenda have to do with zoning and the local synagogues, I think you'd be all set, so.
Did you check with Stanley Rabinowitz?
I don't know where the noise bylaw is. Is it right down there?
well, it's in Lower Beacon Street, so
I think we should not do it.
How much notice do you have to give when you,
You cancel the hearing? I mean, you're posting within 48 hours, so we haven't posted it yet, so.
I am concerned just that this hearing, it's the item I'm thinking of, did generate some attention. And I wouldn't want people to turn up and have us not be there when they're already upset and looking for some resolution to convince them.
Well, the project,
that work is on hold though, any of that noise work.
has notice gone out by mail already?
I believe they're required to notice about it, but I can check with Peter Ditto about what the notice was.
well, I thought we talked last night about meeting on Thursday.
Well, we scheduled a hearing on Tuesday, though.
No, but I understand that, but can't you reschedule it for Thursday?
Tomorrow, Thursday?
No.
Next
A week from Thursday.
That still falls within the holiday if your agenda items happen
No, it
after
doesn't.
9.
The holiday is Tuesday night and Wednesday night.
Yeah, Michael said that after 9 o'clock would be okay for agenda items on Thursday.
Oh, 'cause sunset.
Oh, sunset, that's right. Okay, all right. Well,
So,
Need it?
we would certainly make every effort to let people know if you cancel. We'd start doing that tomorrow.
what do you think, Ben?
I don't know, it's a tough one. I am concerned about having scheduled the hearing and then canceling it and pushing it off. I mean, people may have made childcare arrangements or reorganized their schedule.
This brings up another issue, which is I think we need a master calendar with all of the holidays that we will not be meeting. And it's, really disseminated in all of the departments and, because those calendars are out, you can get them for, 2018 and 2019. I'd be happy to go through the list with you, whoever does it, with whoever it is. But I just think that makes more sense, and including Good Friday as well, so.
But let me state my losing position on this, acknowledging that it's not going anywhere. When we start going down the road of having government driven by religious observances, we're talking about openness and inclusion. We have Muslims in this town. We have Hindus. We have all types of religions that have all types of religious celebrations that our meetings will conflict with. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't make reasonable accommodations. I think we need to have a policy that's a little more precise than let's just look at the calendar and see, when our meetings conflict with, someone's religious observance. I mean, because we can't. We can't. We're going to open up a can of worms that is going to be problematic at some point.
Well, I'm inclined to, as much as we can, respect all religions. And if it means we postpone meetings, we postpone meetings.
What was the reason we didn't have town meeting next week? It was never scheduled because of that reason.
Although it was booked in case town meeting decided that they wanted to, so it really is town meeting's decision.
Well, so my inclination is not to meet. And there's enough notice. We should post it on the website. If there've been emails, if there've been emails, if there's an email list for this, we should use it. We should use Twitter, because I know some of the people complaining about this particular project were very active on Twitter. And do the best we can to notify people. So that means we have to meet tomorrow?
Yes.
At what time?
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah, and we've got to take up some timely events that require liquor licenses or other licensing that are happening either, this weekend or
Is there-
next weekend.
Is there a reason to meet next Thursday? Because we're all free.
I won't be.
Oh, but then we have to wait till 9 o'clock, so.
No real reason.
It's because it's the summer, we don't have to do that one.
Okay, so we'll skip a week. The town will
survive.
So we'll meet tomorrow at 6:30, and then our next meeting will be a week from Tuesday.
Correct.
June 6th.
June 6th.
Right, okay.
Okay.
That
Thank
it?
you. Thank you, yes.